क्यों कर हो शुक्र तेरा, तेरा है जो है मेरा, तूने हर एक करम से घर भर दिया है मेरा। जब तेरा नूर आया जाता रहा अंधेरा, ये रोज कर मुबारक सुबहान मैया रानी, सुबहान मैया रानी।
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our live coverage of Jalsa Salana UK 2024. We've just witnessed the profound and spiritually uplifting International Bayat ceremony, and it's a moment where Ahmadis around the world are united as one global family, and we have an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to our faith and to the conditions of Bayat. It's truly a beautiful and moving experience. I'm sure that everyone here in the Jalsa Salana and everyone at home was able to experience that. We're now able to go to our presenters in the main Jalsaga, where the International Bayat has just completed. Over to you in the Jalsaga, Raza and Salam.
Assalamu alaikum. We are here in the Jalsaga. Zohr and Asr Salat has just finished, and of course it just followed a very emotional Bayat ceremony. And Raza and I, we were pretty much in the middle of it. And what was fascinating this year is that, for me at least, was that I could barely hear my own voice during the Bayat ceremony. It was, everybody's voice was as one, and it was just really a surreal experience.
वही आपने जो अभी फरमाया कि जब हुजूर ने पहले अल्फाज दोहराए हैं, जो पीछे तक गूंज आवाज़ की थी, और जो ज़ोर और जोश और जज्बे के साथ लोगों ने यहाँ पर जो मेहमान आए हुए थे, उन्होंने अपने प्यारे इमाम हज़रत खलीफतुल मसीह ख़ामद सय्यदुल्लाह ताला इब्न अज़ीज़ के पीछे पीछे वो अल्फाज दोहराए, वो यहाँ पर आने के लायक है। आपको हमारे लिए मुश्किल होता है इस्लाम, हम अक्सर लोगों को बाद में ये सवाल पूछते थे कि आप बताएं आपकी क्या कैफियत है, लेकिन अक्सर औक़ात ऐसे भी हो जाता है कि सवाल करना ही मुश्किल होता है, क्योंकि अगर आप ख़ुद यहाँ पर शामिल हुए थे तो वो कैफियत जो है उसको अल्फाज में नहीं बता सकते।
It's a tough question. Let's ask it. So we have
Assalamu alaikum.
joining us is Assalamu alaikum, brother. What's your name?
I'm Dr. Nuruddin Akindele from Nigeria.
Welcome, and tell us about your Bayat experience today.
You know, when you are renewed, you feel very well charged. My covenant with with Allah has been renewed and strengthened by the bayats, and I have a cause to continue to fly high, very high. That's a blessing.
And you're going to take that rejuvenation back to Nigeria?
Yeah, definitely. Even extend it to my family, everybody. You know, a renewed energy to carry the message of Ahmadiyya, the true Islam, to every corner of the globe, you know.
Thank you very much for your time. Jazakallah. Jazakallah. We will keep moving on. Our next guest for this segment is...
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Besmir Owaisi from Republic of Kosovo.
Tell us about your Bayat experience.
This is first time that I came in our Jalsa Salana UK and be part of international bayat. It's a very, very good experience. It's the first time, and I love very much Huzur Ayadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz.
For sharing your experience. Assalamu alaikum.
We are going to hand back to Hamad Sahib, who's waiting to us in the studio. Of course, there's so many things that we can say here, so many people that we can speak to, but time, unfortunately, is not on our side. Hamad Sahib, back to you.
Jazakallah Raza and Salam, and really beautiful to hear all of those incredible experiences of the Bayat there in the Jalsagana, and I'm sure people at home as well have also had very similar experiences. They were able to take part in the International Bayat. Now, moving on, the Canada Peace Village is not just a residential area, it's a testament to the guiding principles of peace, unity and service to humanity as envisioned by Khilafat. This documentary that's coming up now highlights the efforts, dedication and faith that went into creating a community that embodies the true spirit of Islam. So we'll see how the foundations were laid and the challenges that were overcome and the beautiful fruition of a dream that continues to inspire us all. Now let's watch this inspiring documentary on the Canada Peace Village.
Behind me over here is the iconic red bricked building, which is the oldest property the Jamaat has continuously owned here at their national headquarters. But let's go back to a time when it was the only standing structure in this entire region.
It appeared to be very far from Toronto.
There was nothing after Major Mackenzie to the north of it, this one. When we bought that land, and it was a very isolated spot there at that time.
When the mosque was ready for opening, there was a lot of excitement in Jamaat.
अल्लाह ताला ने अपने फजल से जमात अहमदिया कनाडा को जो बहुत ही वसी और खूबसूरत सादा मगर दिलकश मस्जिद बनाने की तौफीक बख्शी है.
At that time, the mosque would be hardly visited for daily prayers because it was very difficult for people to come. But miraculous changes took place after completion of Baitul Islam Mosque.
With a beautiful first masjid inaugurated in 1992, the rural lands around the Baitul Islam still ran for many miles in all directions. Yet, times were changing. The once small Jamaat was growing, drop by drop, with every new member bringing a unique and faith-inspiring story to their new homeland.
मस्जिदें बनाना अच्छी चीज़ है, मगर मस्जिदों के लिए नमाजी तो बनाना ज़रूरी है. अगर मस्जिदें बनाएंगे और नमाजी नहीं बनाएंगे तो उसका क्या फ़ायदा.
जब यहाँ मस्जिद बन गई तो कुछ दिन खलीफा राबे रहमुल्लाह ताला यहाँ रहे, तो उन्होंने नोट किया कि हाज़री इतनी ख़ास नहीं होती. तो वो फरमाने लगे मेहदी साहब से कि मस्जिद तो बना दिया आपने, लेकिन हाज़री की तरफ भी तवज्जो होनी चाहिए. मेहदी साहब कहने लगे हजूर दुआ करो ए जगह सानू मिल जाए. तो इसके मुतल्लिक़ वल्लाह आलम हजूर ने ज़रूर ये दुआ की होगी.
That you see, I don't know if you can see those buildings and structures. That's Toronto, city of Toronto, and I don't know if you can see the CN Tower, but way far through those buildings there's a very thin, long structure. That's a CN Tower, one of the longest standing structures in the world currently.
It looks like we have some farmland on this side of the mosque.
Currently on the north side of the mosque, which we're facing right now, is the farmland. I believe they're growing some tomatoes there right now. This land is for sale, so hopefully somebody will buy it and develop it also.
At that time, we were given the impression by the officials in the city of Vaughan that the development in this part of Vaughan would take place 25 to 30 years. We wish that we could have a house near the mosque.
Now, despite the humble state of the Jamaat at that time, it was the heartfelt desire of the members and the prayers of their beloved Khalifa that planted seedlings in this land, which would be seeing tremendous growth in the coming years, the fruits of which we enjoy to this day.
But when the blessing of Allah comes, the planning came much earlier than anticipated. Normally, it is the policy of the province and the town that along 400, both sides, east and west, will be only industrial and institutional development. However, an extraordinary exception took place here. That promise allowed to have residential development during 1994 on both sides of Highway 400, starting from Rutherford up to Teston.
And the developers started having surveys, and we came to know that the development right north of Baitul Islam property was going to be done by a development company.
वो बस्ती रात के सजदों से जब उभरती थी, सदाए सल्ले अला से सहर उतरती थी.
Unfortunately, during the block plan development process, Jamaat did not actively participate in the process. Normally, if we participate in that process, we could explain our situation and reserve our rights. So when I initially saw the development plans submitted by the builders, there were about 40-50 homes proposed backing on our north side of the property, and similarly 40 or 50 homes were going to back on our south side of the property. This was not an acceptable situation. This road was supposed to go through south towards America Avenue, what it is now, but this would have divided our Jamaat property into two. So one side is the mosque, here is the other half, and public traffic going on at what speed or what number you don't know. So we took the step to get involved and objected to these developments. Once we appeared in the council and we said that this is not acceptable, then the process started. One builder, he bought this land of 50 acres, but he did not consult Jamaat before buying. So when he bought it, then he came to National Amir Sahib, Maulana Naseem Mahdi, and had a meeting.
The company proposed that the Jamaat should be paid some amount of money so that its land could be used to develop the city infrastructure, but the Jamaat decided to give that land for free. In return for that, it came with a tremendous benefit which established its fruits in the coming years.
Mahdi Sahib very diligently told him that we look forward to have this development coming around mosque. It is of our interest, but at the same time, we will meet your interests with understanding that you are also looking for our interests.
As an agreement between the developers and the Jamaat was allocated 5 plots of land for free. These 5 plots ultimately came to be known as the Second Bashir Guest House, the Bait-e-Maryam, and the building right behind me, the Al-Khidmat office of Majlis Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya Canada.
An agreement was reached and Peace Village came about.
ज़रूरतें भी हमारी कहाँ ज़्यादा थी कि ज़िंदगी की अदाएं बहुत ही सादा थी.
The builder started construction on April 5, 1998 with prayers, and it was led by Maulana Naseem Mahdi Sahib, marhum. 2 days later was Eid al-Adha. Late Maulana Naseem Mahdi Sahib gave a sermon. He introduced this project to Jamaat. He explained the example of Hazrat Ibrahim, how in difficult circumstances he settled his family near the mosque. He encouraged members that now that we have made all the agreements with the builder, we are ready to recommend to the members that they can buy homes around the mosque. Now look at the excitement of the Jamaat members. Soon after Eid prayer, many of them they lined up in the sales office, and I understand that about 20 homes were booked on that day. Now according to a report in Toronto Star, about 100 homes were booked on that weekend.
गली गली कई जुगनू से जगमगाते थे, नमाजियों के कदम मस्जिदों को जाते थे.
जब हम पाकिस्तान से चले थे तो हमने सुना था कि कनाडा में एक कम्युनिटी हमारी बिल्ट हो रही है जो कि स्पेसिफिकली ओनली फॉर जो अहमदीज़ के लिए है. तो हम वहीं से ये इंटेंशन लेके आए थे कि हम जब भी यहाँ आएंगे तो यहाँ मूव करेंगे. एंड फॉर मैनी फैमिलीज़ इट वाज एन अपहिल टास्क how to afford new houses while they had recently taken refuge in Canada. There were about 300 housing units initially in the area, the development of Peace Village, but not enough Ahmadi families were there to buy these houses.
After our agreements with the builder, it was an understanding that all the homes will be purchased by our members. So accordingly, all the names were supposed to be after the name of Jamaat elders, and most of the names suggested were approved. Most of the larger homes were sold very quickly, but there was less interest in the smaller homes. So then builder decided to sell these lots where we are standing to Baywood builder. So they wanted the names of their own choice. We had named these streets Tahir and Nasser Street. Similarly, what is now Bashir Street was named as Zafrullah Khan Crescent. So one of the reasons was that these are the difficult names. It was agreed that we will swap one of the names, which is a difficult name apparently. So at that time, the name Zafrullah Khan Crescent was changed with the Bashir Street. So this is how we were able to keep all those names originally approved.
काफ़ी कोशिश के बाद फिर एक मेरे कज़न जो है वो 5-6 महीने के बाद हमारे पास आए, उनसे मैंने रिक्वेस्ट की तो वो हमें यहाँ पीस विलेज में लेके आए.
The idea of Peace Village came after we had been living, and I was studying at York University. We had a house there, and then Peace Village came up as a project. And our desire was that we wanted to be close to a mosque. At the beginning, it was difficult because we could not put up the finance that was necessary. Every afternoon at the time of Maghrib, I would take the two youngest ones, put them in the car and rush up Jane Street, and I would be telling them, pray that Allah gives us the opportunity to live there so that we are close to the mosque. But eventually, by Allah's grace, this sort of became a reality.
So one day I came here to pray, and I met the same real estate agent. And I told him that I wish I live here. So he told me, yes, you can move here. Your house has equity, you can sell and move here. So he helped me to sell it, and I bought Tahir Street.
We decided to essentially move to Peace Villages in 2000. It was never planned. My parents had decided to sell the house that we were living in Brampton at the time. And the plan was from Brampton, we were going to move to Rabwa for a couple of years, and mainly for the upbringing. But what ended up happening was when my parents came to Peace Village, to Baitul Islam Mosque to read Jummah Salat, there was a big board right in front of mosque gate. It was, there was an illustration, the Quranic verse in it, where Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam had prayed for Hazrat Hajra and Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam to, while he was settling them in the valley of Makkah. And essentially he was praying that, oh my Lord, make this city a peaceful city. After viewing that verse and reading that verse, my parents got motivated and completely abandoned their plans of moving to Pakistan, Rabwa, and decided there and then to book a house in Peace Village. And alhamdulillah, they were able to do so.
I myself know that if it was not for Baitul Islam Mosque, I would have remained till now in Scarborough, where I came in the beginning.
It was only and only because of Jamaat that we are here. It was the guidance of Hazur. I sometimes feel that Hazur planted like a nursery. He picked up plants from every country, brought them together.
हमें जब बुलाती हैं रबवा की गलियां बहुत खून रुलाती हैं रबवा की गलियां. When people started moving to Peace Village, memories of moving to Rabwa were very often repeated. You know, when Rabwa land was purchased, it was a barren land in 1948, and even water was not there. So moving to Peace Village, there was a similarity that we are moving here just to be able to attend the mosque 5 times a day. So this was an emotion, or this was a feeling which moved people from their own homes.
In the early years after the purchase of this property, there were many critical voices claiming that the area around the masjid would remain farmland for up to half a century. But to their shock and amazement, the area around that very masjid began flourishing within just 10 to 15 years and became the incredible community of Peace Village that we can see today. And it's actually hard to imagine that just within those 10 to 15 years, every single acre and square foot that became a house used to be a farmland teeming with potatoes and tomatoes.
फिर आफताब जो हम राह लेके धूपाता हमारे शहर मोहब्बत पे कैसा रूपाता जे यकीन था मैं जल्द लौट आऊंगा भला मैं छोड़ कर उसको कहाँ पे जाऊंगा बिछड़ते वक्त में जो कदम उठाता था वो शहर मेरे बदन से लिपटता ये रोज कल मुबारक सुबहान मैया रानी.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the grounds here in Hadeeqa-tul-Mahdi, and right now we are in our turf, on our turf basically. These are the MTA compounds and the grounds where all the offices are working around the clock throughout the 3 days to bring you live coverage in different languages, different channels, different platforms, social media, studio broadcast, you name it. There's something for everyone. Joining us right now is Brother Abrar Beg. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And Abrar, you are working in MTA Africa.
Yes.
Now that's a whole operation itself. Tell us, in a nutshell, some facts and figures.
Basically, my job is to realize the projects that the producers of MTA Africa have put together on a rundown. And what my job is to actually realize it into basically record whatever they needed to record and basically put the team together and bring everyone together to show what's actually.
This is not done in 2 hours.
Sorry, yes, of course. So months and months of work goes into this, and the producers have actually been working on this since I think in February they contacted me. And since then, we have actually been working on it together. Production department and the MTA Africa department have been working together to actually realize this project.
I'm so glad you were very specific about it, because otherwise you would have been Abrar vague.
Don't worry, I got used to it over the 3 days, so you probably don't understand that.
Now,
right now.
today is Sunday, and I know you're used to seeing this gentleman on Fridays, but don't be alarmed, it's still Sunday. We are joined by Mubarak Zamadi, who is working with online?
Offline.
Offline,
yes.
And so tell us some facts and figures of what you're doing.
Also, offline, we basically make a lot of the pre-recorded material that you've seen on the broadcast over the last 3 days, so a lot of the documentaries, a lot of the fillers. That's what offline team does, and because we now have 5 live studio broadcasts now during Jalsa, so each team has their own set of offline teams. So there's content being made for Bangla studios, for French, for Arabic, for Africa, and for MTA One. So people have travelled from all around the world for that. So it's intense, but we get to see the other side of Jalsa as well. We get to get the experiences of people.
So what's the turnaround time for, let's say, a 5-minute piece?
5 minutes is quite long for us. To get that turned around is quite short notice. But we usually film during Jalsa, so we start during Jalsa for a lot of our content. So we have a few hours sometimes as turnaround. So that's film it, edit it, get it approved, any changes, edit it again, get it out. So it's tough, but we love doing it.
Excellent. Jazakallah Mubarak. Excellent work, guys. It's like a pressure cooker.
These are the guys that work till late in the night. Right. when you come here at late at night, it's their light in the office that is still on. Now
we're over to programming.
What's programming?
What is programming? Is that us?
Yeah, I think that's us.
Oh, that's us. It is us.
Someone who's here to explain a little bit more what programming is. Sabah.
So, Assalamu alaikum. Our work, this covering Jalsa is the biggest event that we cover on MT International. So our work for Jalsa starts many months in advance. commissioning work to MTA International Production Department in London, as well as all across the world as well, to our foreign studios and various bureaus around the world. And the work includes coming up with the concept, writing scripts, and following that up as well.
So everything that we do, what comes after the segment, what comes before the segment, which order, all of that, that's you guys.
Exactly. You've been involved with MTA for many years as well. The rehearsals that we do, coming up with the guests, managing guests, coming up with the discussion points, topics for studio discussions, as well as covering the offline pieces as well. So we want to bring to the viewers the atmosphere of Jalsa. So you would see small programs, small videos that are prepared during Jalsa. So the MTA programming department works in close proximity with MTA production, and they work day in and day out. All hands on deck, covering various parts of Jalsa, the Jalsa machinery as well.
So where are we going next?
We're going to MTA 3.
MTA 3.
MTA 3 is MTA Al Arabiya.
Al Arabiya. We have brother Salam with us. Assalamu alaikum. Now you have also a huge operation. The Arab countries are one of those countries, and Azur mentions this in his speeches yesterday, he mentioned this as well, where MTA plays a huge significant role. So you have to cater for that audience to bring the message of Islam Ahmadiyyat to the Arab countries. How do you do that?
Yeah, first of all, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Just like you just heard from Sabah Zafar Sahib, also MT3 covers all 3 days as well, so that they can deliver those proceedings to Arab countries as well. So, like Sabah Zafar Sahib said, the highlight of the Jalsa, of course, is the speeches of Hazur Anwar, Ayadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, and then between those speeches, to fill the gaps, we produce some documentaries. Those documentaries are prepared. Some of them are here in Batul Futu, and also we have our studios in Kababir. So we have a huge team in Kababir, and they prepare documentaries, also studio discussions as well. And also during Jalsa Salana, some of those people from Kababir come to Jalsa as well. There is a huge team. So they go around. Some of them do camera work. Some of them do control in control room, and also as a presenters as well. So we have presenters from Canada, we have from Ghana as well, and even from Kababir. So this is it's not just during Jalsa. We also start preparing documentaries before Jalsa, like weeks, even months. Yeah. And of course, during Jalsa, we do our offline pieces, like Mubarak Sahib before said. We go around and make small pieces about longer, etc. Yeah.
You know what's great about being on this compound is like this is the collaboration that's happening between the various MTA channels. So it's really cool to be able to be all together as one.
Yes.
Really, yeah.
Now, one studio that was, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Is our Bangladesh studio. Assalamu alaikum. Hadi Sahib. This was introduced for the first time last year, wasn't it? So, who's going to talk about this?
Yeah, so this is the second year we're doing this. Last year was our first inaugural year. We're not broadcasting, we're streaming. So last year, on an average, we had about 10,000 views per day. We're not sure exactly what numbers we have at the moment. But yes, alhamdulillah, it's going well so far. The 3 days have flown by. In terms of manpower, we have people from Bangladesh themselves, MTA International, Bangladesh studios. We have local Bengalis, we have Bengalis from Ireland. We have a mixture of Bengalis from all around the world helping us. Most people don't have the background in television here, but with Allah's prayers and His guidance, we're moving on.
And how is it being received online?
So far, so good, really well. The only downside this year is that, as you may know, there was an internet blackout in Bangladesh. There was the military curfew for a week just before Jalsa. They cut off the internet for all the country, and I think just this afternoon at 3 p.m. they're supposed to turn the data back on. The internet has been back on, broadband, landline in the homes, but phones have been turned off since this afternoon.
Playback?
Yes, of course, exactly. So the good thing about streaming is that whatever you're streaming is recorded on YouTube, so you can always go back and watch it. So I'm not sure what the numbers will be this year, but last year was very promising, so we're praying we'll be somewhere close this year, inshallah.
We always go further.
Thanks so much.
Jazakallah.
Thank you.
Jazakallah, brothers. Now, last one where you guys get involved here is our social media. So Jalsa Connect online, where people from all across the globe, oh, I'm so sorry, do turn. Assalamu alaikum. Lot sahab. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, great.
3 days flew by for you as well, or?
Yes, you know, we wait a lot for these days and they just go so fast. But we don't want to keep them, but unfortunately they have to go. That's the time.
So Jalsa Connect was just flying off the chain, as they would say these days. Or they were keeping it lit, I guess the kids would say. So how was it? How was the reception?
Fantastic. Obviously, you know that other than the TV, all comes under Jalsa Connect, where we have to connect the people throughout the world with the social media, YouTube, and many people have different ways of connecting and also making sure they see what's happening behind the scene as well, what we are unable to cover on the TV and multiple angles. And different people have different way of reaching and approaching the media. So that's a fantastic tool, alhamdulillah, that Jamaat is spreading, and we are making sure that message is spread across every single corner, and no stone unturned for that, and that's our team does.
So let's check out some of those messages, eh?
We got this guy here.
We got our good friend Humayun.
You guys again. Jazakallah guys, and as you know, today we had our bed ceremony. We are also fortunate to be able to partake in it physically here. But as you know, many of our viewers at home are sitting at home aching to be part of it as well. And we reached out on our social media and we asked you all at home, what does bed mean to you? And as always, you guys delivered, and we had so many comments. We could only put as many as we could on the screen. But some of you have said sacrifice, recommitment, life, to be alive again. Mukammal taur par Allah ka ho jana. So many of these comments which we all resonate with as well. And we hope you also could take part in it in any way that you could. And as always, the parents have always done such a great job with dressing up your kids in the Jalsa Salana spirit. We have a little Zuhaib Ahmed, our own MTA baby in our crew, who's wearing his MTA lanyard as well, who's partaking in his first Jalsa Salana, and all the other children as well. Yesterday we asked you one of the riddles. We gave you plenty of time to ponder and think over it. And the answer was the marquee, the main Jalsa Salana. Many of you guys, yeah.
He said no.
Yeah, they had it all, like all types of answers were coming through. But did you know, there's an amazing fact here, guys, that the Jalsa Salana site uses over 100,000 square meters of tented space to accommodate thousands of guests of the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam. And now in the last slide, to end today's segment, we tried to put as many of the footage of the children that you have been sending us on the screen as possible. But these 3 days are finished physically, but our work continues on the online world and in the social media platforms. So continue to follow Jalsa Connect, as our team will be working tirelessly throughout the next days and weeks to get all of the content that you have been sharing with us onto the screens. Jazakallah guys, and back over to you. Jalsa Salana Mubarak to all of you guys as well.
Much appreciated and always a pleasure. You know, what I find peculiar as we queue up our next segment is that the brain named itself.
Yeah.
The brain named itself, and just the same, MTA made a documentary about the making of MTA.
The making of MTA.
Let's see how it was made.
Welcome to our special documentary exploring the remarkable journey of MTA International. Established in 1994, MTA has grown from its humble beginnings into a global broadcasting network. In the early days, MTA faced significant challenges with limited resources. The teams would rely on overwriting tapes to make room for new programming material, and the departments would operate with minimal people overseeing major departments. Despite these challenges, the visionaries behind MTA remained steadfast in their mission to provide quality content to a global audience. Under the guidance of Hazrat Hadeeqa-tul-Mahdi, MTA has advanced in every technological aspect imaginable. Today, MTA International operates 10 channels, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, reaching audiences in multiple languages. From its early days and a single broadcasting studio, MTA now has numerous studios worldwide. Join us as we delve into the challenges, the history, and the triumphs that have shaped MTA International into the inspiring, spiritual, and influential media network. This is MTA in the making.
MTA International was established with a global vision. However, it started with very humble beginnings. We spoke to Akil Shah Sahib to find out more.
So Akil Shah Sahib, you're the head of Department for Transmission. When MTA was first established, what was your role and how were the divisions within MTA and the development of the various departments?
And when we started, it was one of the most difficult stages, I would say, because there was no equipment. Most of the investment had gone into an uplink truck, and technology at that time was very, very expensive. So if we were thinking of buying or purchasing any broadcast level equipment, it was out of reach. Super VHS, and that will be affordable. So some investment was put into that, but then again, we had to think about what type of recording machines and what do we do with them, where we acquire them from, what sort of budget will go in there. So the only thing which I could think and suggest was semi-professional equipment, where at least we could have some edit functions in them. Super VHS was targeting the professional market, where for the conference and enthusiasts and other things.
In terms of acquiring equipment and storing the equipment, what were some of the challenges and how did you overcome those challenges that you faced?
That was another very challenging thing. We didn't have a place to store, to be honest. Jamaat already was finding it difficult in Fazl Mosque, even for the offices and other things. So our routine was that after work, after 6 o'clock, we used to get the 3-4 of us, and we used to store everything. There was a stage, and there was a little storage we found under the stage. We used to store everything under that stage. And when we used to go there, we didn't have any room to work from. So the first challenge was every evening was to find an empty place or corner or somewhere where we could do the setups. This is the only reason we used to start late. So by the time we used to start work, it used to be after Isha.
How did you acquire the studio space for MTA?
It was only after quite a few months that Hazrat Khalifa Rabi Hazur found out that this is how we are working. So Hazur called us, and Hazur asked me, how have you people been working? As you instructed, we are producing programs, so that's fine, but I heard you don't have any place to work from. So we struggled, but we are managing. I said, no need to struggle, okay, come with me. Hazur got up from his office and took my hand, and he took us with him. And he said, whilst we were walking, he said, can you suggest any place for a studio for yourself? So you can make a studio. So there's a building across the road, which recently purchased, or not across the road, inside here. I said, I have no idea about that. So Hazur took us into the offices upstairs. And he said, okay, have a look, which one you like. So I kept quiet because all these Tabshir and Mal offices, they were there. And Hazur had a look, and Hazur looked at the size of the place, and he said, I think this will be suitable for you. So whatever is your wish, whatever you say is. That was the first purpose-built studio which we made ourselves, designed, structured, everything done by ourselves. Even the carpentry was done. You know, because those were the days when we were too enthusiastic.
MTA International holds invaluable treasures dating all the way back to the inception of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Countless memories of Khulafa and historic milestones of the community have been carefully preserved by MTA International. We spoke to Shahid Ahmed Sahib to find out more.
These tapes and recordings were stored in VHS format. Was there a particular type? How did the quality advance, and how did you kind of store it initially, and how is it stored now?
I mean, if we look at that era of technology, we were going with the best available format at that time. It was the Luz design, and VHS was the go-to format at that time. All the Friday sermons and question answer sessions, which were recorded almost every day, were recorded on VHS.
Okay.
At that time, MTA chairman went to Hazrat Khalifatul-Mahdi IV, Rahimahullah, and presented this problem that we are running out of space for tapes. And then he came out of that mulaqat, walked with chairman of MTA to Mahmood Hall, and looked around, and he said, "Ye jo diwar hai, iske saath bana le shelves." And he said, you make these shelves in a way that you stack 2 tapes behind each other.
Okay.
So as a depth of 2 tapes.
Yeah.
And at that time, we were using Betacam and Super VHS. Beta cam mainly for the archive purpose and Super VHS as a backup. And then after a year or so, that we run out of that space as well. Same problem presented to Huzur again. And Huzur very graciously upstairs in his residence gave part of his own library to MTA to store tapes.
How is things stored and managed today?
At particular time now, we are completely tapeless. MTA is a tapeless environment, and all the old programs and new programs have been digitized. The programs are stored on huge servers.
A large part of the MTA International pioneering team and present-day team are members of the Lajna Imaila, the women's organisation within the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We spoke to Rakiba Gulzar Sahiba as she explains how the Lajna prioritised their service to MTA above all else and overcame various challenges despite the adversity.
The Lajna used to come early in the morning. Some of them used to come at Fajr time, and they would do the namaz and then stay and then have some breakfast in the Mahmood Hall and then to start the hard work. But whatever I learned from the gentlemen, I had to pass it on to the new girls. The teams would create a schedule. And at that time, we didn't have any of the latest technology. We had to do the timings by hand manually. We add on all the timings as we go. And there again, if there was any mistakes done, for example, if the Lajna add 1 hour instead of 1 minute to the previous program, the next program goes haywire and it was completely wrong. So they had to do it again and again. As we went from 3 to 6 to 9 hours, we went to 12 hours. Of course, we needed more staff, and then we needed more room as well. So we were shifted from Mahmood Hall to the top of Mahmood Hall, where it was lucky for us, it was just next door practically to where Huzur used to live. And also next to our scheduling department, we had a studio there. In January 1994, when MTA became 12 hours, the tapes were no longer sent to Russia. So we started transmission from here. And by then, we were receiving material from all over the world, from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and other countries as well. And when the tapes came in, we were to log them in. And once we log them in, then another group of girls, they check the contents of it in case there's any technical mistakes in there. And from there, they entered it in the database. Nowadays, we have about 40 to 50 ladies working for us. What I would like to mention is that, when they, after leaving the office here, it was quite late, and I was standing outside waiting for somebody to come and take me home. And Hadeeqa-tul-Mahdi passed by, and he stopped, and he laughed, and he said to me, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Huzur, I'm going home." He said, "No, you're not going home." And that made me a bit surprised. I said, "What am I going to say now?" And then he laughed and said, "You're not going home because your home is here and the other one is your office." So, that's how much he thought of us, and he knows we are there.
Starting a television channel, especially in the late 90s, was an extremely expensive endeavour. However, this was not something that deterred Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih IV, rahmahullah, from pursuing this endeavour. And today it is evident that these efforts have paid off. But how exactly did MTA acquire the satellite contracts? We spoke to Munir Rodeh Sahib to find out more.
At the start of MTA, the Jaswal brothers were interested in finding a suitable satellite for MTA to broadcast on. For that purpose, you would also need an uplink station to transmit the signal from the ground to the satellite. And in 1992, SNG vehicle was purchased for this purpose, and we started transmitting the Friday sermon 1 hour a day, and then increased over the years. With that, it became very clear that we need something a bit more robust. A larger truck was purchased. We started transmitting to satellite directly for longer hours till it became 24 hours a day, 24/7 service. It was very clear from the outset that in the long run, while MTA increased its transmission hours, we would need something bigger, more robust to transmit for longer durations to further places. And for that also, we had to acquire more capacity on different satellites to be able to cover the rest of the world. So one satellite was for Asia, one for Africa, one for Europe, and also some satellites for the Americas, North and South. And over the years, MTA has developed its fiber network. So currently, MTA has an international network that delivers its signals to places like Hong Kong, the Middle East, Indonesia, America, Europe, and Africa. Through those links, we partner with other companies to uplink our signals to different satellites around the world. Now we have 11 satellites that cover the whole world for the 8 satellite channels, alhamdulillah. For North America, it was also important for us to ensure an uplink of a signal for our North American viewers. Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Khalifatul-Masih al-Rabi rahimahullah instructed Chaudhry Munir Sahib at that time to work on establishing a teleport for MTA International. So MTA today, by the grace of Allah, still has that teleport that transmits to North America and enables us to deliver localized channels to North America and the South American areas. MTA 8 is being transmitted there, and we are working on the establishment of MTA 9, which will cater for the Spanish population in America and South America. Hazrat Masih Rabi rahimahullah, at one point when we started receiving international programs from Bangladesh and other countries in the very early days of MTA, we also started receiving translations for the Friday sermons and other programs. And Huzur then, rahimahullah, said that each of these languages will one day become a channel of its own. We can see that vision manifesting in front of us today, and there are channels who are dedicated for their own audiences, and the localized transmission commenced under the guidance of Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz few years ago. Now we have 8 channels that are catering for localized services, tailored and made for the local audiences in Asia, the Far East, Australasia, Africa has 2 channels, Arabic channel, channels in Gambia, channels in North America, and South America, as well as Europe, by the grace of Allah. This expansion of MTA happened during the Khilafat Khamisa, by the grace of Allah, with the close guidance of Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Ayyadullah Ta'ala Aziz. The network of MTA and the presence of MTA studios has increased significantly around the world. And by the grace of Allah, we have more than 20 studios and bureaus around the world that are working and making programs for MTA channels. There is one unique thing about MTA, which is also recognized by the industry, is the amount of channels that we deal with. Not many channels around the world, and I don't actually know of any that has over 26 languages that are delivered over its networks, as well as the subtitling languages are being produced currently and made available on online services, as well as the linear services on satellite and terrestrial channels that MTA has. By the grace of Allah, these technologies are being adopted in MTA and utilized for the service of propagation Islam, Ahmadiyyat around the world to the best of our abilities.
खुदाए मेहरबान का है बड़ा एहसान MTA.
Assalamu alaikum. This is day 3 of our challenge, and we have met some pretty incredible people from all around the world, and they have traveled here for Jalsa Salana. But as you can see behind me, they are getting ready for bed, so we don't have much time. So let's see if we can find out who has traveled the furthest to get here for Jalsa.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
I'm very good.
If you don't mind me asking, where are you from?
I'm from Australia.
That's lovely. How is it in Australia?
It's very cold nowadays. It's winter there.
Meu nome é Eric, né? Eu sou jornalista, eu vim do Brasil. São 12 horas aí de avião até a gente poder chegar aqui, mas com certeza vale muito a pena toda a experiência que o evento, né, que essa reunião proporciona pra gente, o mix de cultura, a organização aqui, é tudo impecável.
I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
And what's it like over there?
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a very beautiful country. I have invited many people from here. I said, come and visit us, and we would love to do hospitality.
If you don't mind me asking, where are you from then?
Oh, well, I'm from Taiwan. Oh, Taiwan is a very liberal, very democratic country where people enjoy, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and then we are very much like your community here, very friendly, full of volunteer spirit.
Where did you come from for this Jalsa?
So I come from New Zealand.
Definitely our furthest attendee. You've travelled very far to get here, alhamdulillah. How long did it take for you to get here?
It's almost 35 hours, a long journey. But it's a little bit hard, but I'm enjoying too. And Jalsa Salana, very excited. So just reach up in the Jalsa Salana. First time I'm here. So just see the Hazur on here and listen to the Hazur khutbah.
And how are you finding it so far?
Oh, we really are very much grateful, very much impressed by this wonderful gathering. Yeah, this is a beautiful gathering.
So I just offered my prayer behind Huzur and then also participated in first session. I can't express my feelings how it feels like in the presence of Huzur Anwar and with all the guests who have come from across the world. It is just amazing. It's fascinating.
Well, I think it's safe to say we have found out which attendee has travelled the furthest to get here for Jalsa Salana. Jazakallah for joining us on this journey. We hope to see you again soon.
ये रोज कल मुबारक सुबहान मैया रानी.
A fantastic look at the early days and history of MTA International. I'm joined in the studio by respected Muhammad bin Saleh Sahib, who is the Amir and missionary in charge of Jamaat Ahmadiyya Ghana. Jazakumullah Amir Sahib for joining us in the studio today.
Jazakallah.
Amir Sahib, I wanted to jump straight into it. We've been talking about the past, present and future of Khilafat. And specifically today I want to talk about our future as Ahmadi Muslims with Khilafat-e-Ahmadiyya. It's been 116 years since the inception of Khilafat-e-Ahmadiyya, and we have seen a massive exponential transformation in technological advancement, in science, in the fields of knowledge. The world has changed drastically since 1908 up until now. Now my question is, what does Khilafat-e-Ahmadiyya have to offer for the modern day world?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll begin by saying that Khilafat has everything to offer modern world, and without Khilafat, modern world has very little or nothing to benefit itself. I can back that up by saying that Khilafat is a universal phenomenon, and it's a corollary of prophethood. Every prophethood is followed by Khilafat. We live in the world, we see human beings with amputated legs, with amputated arms, ears, but they still continue to live as human beings. But we've never seen a headless human being performing well as a human being. That is where Khilafat fits in. In the modern world that we find, that the modernity of the world can be channeled and channeled better for our purpose, for our good, if it is within the umbrella of Khilafat. Out of the umbrella of Khilafat, modernity as we find it today can rather turn around to be an albatross. It can turn around to be a source of destruction for us than of being of any good to us. Khilafat of this current and this modern times has done everything to put the world in its proper perspective for the worship of the Almighty Allah, alongside modernity. For instance, what? Khilafat has brought Muslims the world over together. It's because of Khilafat that we are here, the benefit of Khilafat, an international convention where you find Ahmadi brethren from all corners of the world gathered in one place under one leadership, and with love and affection, showing unity and being a source of development for the world. Yeah, so Khilafat is actually, when you talk of modernity, we should be thinking of Khilafat. Because it is Khilafat that has come to bring the true Islam to mankind. Without Khilafat, the true religion, Islam, can never be able, you never refine it in the world. It is through Khilafat that we all become embodiments of Islam. Absolutely. Therefore, Khilafat, yes, it's done a lot for the modern world, and will continue to do a lot more.
So, Amir Sahab, I remember Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih Rabi', the fourth successor, rahimahullah ta'ala, he once said that the Khilafat Ahmadi has reached a level of maturity, or the Jamaat has reached a level of maturity from which Khilafat Ahmadiyya is now safe from any onslaught, whether that is internal or external. Now, we pledge as Ahmadi Muslims that we will do anything to safeguard the institution of Khilafat. What does it mean to safeguard, as Ahmadi Muslims, what does it mean to safeguard the institution?
Yes. For instance, you find that Khilafat has made the Ahmadiyya community as something really to be reckoned with in the world. Yeah. Not only to be reckoned with, but it's become a pacemaker, a pace setter for the world in many other things. If we go back to my own country, what Ahmadiyyat has done through Khilafat is that Ahmadiyyat is becoming a reference point when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to inter-religious and inter-ethnic and intercultural relationship, when it comes to, mature politics and so on and so forth. Khilafat has been able to take us through all of that, in such a way that Khilafat has made Ahmadiyyat, for instance, in my country, I always go back to Ghana, there is a demand for Ahmadiyyat in Ghana, and Ahmadiyyat is seen as a reference point, like I mentioned earlier, where people go to the Ahmadiyya mission and would want to seek advice on issues. For instance, committees and what and not here and there, people would always want to have an Ahmadi there, so that you can always see the Ahmadiyya aspect, influencing whatever takes place in the country called Ghana.
Right. So, Amir Sahab, I want to ask, if someone comes to you today and says, what can I do to safeguard the institution of Khilafat? Yes. One job, yes. What would you say?
What you can do to safeguard the institution of Khilafat is you yourself to become an embodiment of Khilafat. And by becoming an embodiment of Khilafat, I mean to say you should be that practical person who would have drunk deep from the wisdom, from the sweet waters of Khilafat, and you become an embodiment of Khilafat, so that anybody looks at you, you are a mirror that mirrors Khilafat. And they say, yes, Khilafat it performs wonders. Look at Khilafat there, standing there. So that is what Khilafat we can do as individuals. Everybody must see himself as an embodiment of Khilafat. You must make every effort to ensure that you portray Khilafat in such a way that we get to know that it's the live wire of Islam.
Fantastic. And what you said about Ahmadiyyat being a reference point of goodness in Ghana, I'm a personal witness to that. I had the good fortune to visit 10 years ago. And so my next question actually pertains to this. As the Amir of such a large Jamaat as Ghana, what you must have surely experienced things that give you reassurance as to the future prosperity of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. If you can share maybe
one thing I can immediately tell you, that I have lived in Pakistan. I've seen animosities against Ahmadis. I've lived in northern part of Ghana. I've seen the animosities against Ahmadis in the past, as against now. That Ahmadiyyat has traveled a distance. People have grown to know what Ahmadiyyat is. Like I mentioned, it's becoming a reference point now. Such that through Ahmadiyyat now, you're surprised that that very community, which everybody bore grudge with, now it's become a reference point for the Muslims of Ghana. It's a unifying factor for the Muslims in Ghana. The unifying factor for the Muslims in Ghana and between the Muslims of Ghana and the other religious bodies in Ghana, so that there is religious, tolerance among. That is what has made Ghana one of the best countries you can come across in this world, even when it comes to religious tolerance. Ghana is one of the best, and Ahmadiyyat is responsible to a large extent for this kind of situation that we have.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah, that's incredible, and in such a short space of time, I think I have certainly, received a bite-sized information, such amount of information that, there is a lot to digest there. Jazakumullah Amir Sahib, I really thank you for your time. We are going to be joined now, I am being told, by Salam Bhatti Sahib and Raza Ahmed Sahib, who are in the Voice of Islam radio section. And they will, I believe, maybe talking to someone. Let's go to them and let's see what they have to say.
Yes, Qasad, you believe right. We are in the Voice of Islam complex. Salam, what Al-Islam is to you is Voice of Islam to me. So this is basically what I do.
Our significant other.
Yes, and joining us now is Mujib Mirza Sahib, who is the General Secretary of Voice of Islam. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mujib Sahib, I remember a couple of years ago, this was a very small operation, and by the grace of Allah, as is the case with everything else around the Jalsa site and with all the departments, it is bound to grow. So you've seen that growth. I see the team behind you. Again, it was a couple of people, but now, mashallah, the team is growing. What is it that you can tell us? What is the operation like now? What are you doing here on site? Anything different from the previous years?
Yes, indeed, we have grown. Just like anything in Jamaat, we progress, and so much so that people have been talking to me that how we started with one trailer, one small cabin, and we were transmitting from there. Now we've got, mashallah, we've got a studio, we've got marquees and cabins, we've got social media teams and things like that. So in terms of this year's specialities, what we've done is that we're trying to work towards a theme. So we got an approval from Hazur Anwar to discuss a theme, and the theme for this year's Voice of Islam coverage has been the conflicts around the world and need for Muslim unity. And so all the programs that we're producing and are still live as well is tailored around that theme, and I think that's very important, especially the dynamics around the world right now. It's a need that we talk about these topics in detail.
So you broadcast live from on site. Is it just audio? What is it during the proceedings of the Jalsa Salana, or do you have any extra additional programs?
So during the Jalsa, we have a 3-day special broadcast from site. We go live in the morning. So on Friday we start at 7 a.m. Yesterday at 8, today at 9. It changes every day, and we have a 12-hour schedule that we are live from site. But our headquarters is in Bethlehem. From there we are transmitting across different cities across the world on DAB. You can find us online at the Voice of Islam website. And this year has been an amazing year for us. We've progressed in many different cities. We're now live in 10 cities. Our reach is 1.8 million across DAB. And this year we're also planning on going to different places outside UK. So there's thinking behind going to British Islands across the world. So there's some islands that we're looking at where we're going to be starting to broadcast Voice of Islam very soon.
That's all with the guidance and with the prayers of Hazur Anwar Aidullah Ta'ala Aziz. Of course, as you can see behind Mujib Saad, the team has grown. We got social media, you have different platforms, you got the catering team, you have the office team. So again, that's all possible with teamwork. Now,
quite a team, they're collaborating already. They're working together.
Exactly.
There's lots
all
of ideas happening.
Young lads from,
Safir Saab tucked his phone away for some reason. I think you were working. But yeah, so we have so many guests here.
Staff. How can we forget the tech staff? They make everything possible.
And of course,
unfortunately,
they're live right now.
Yeah, we
so
can't take you inside, but yeah, you get it.
What
are we doing next?
What do we do next? Well, we have so many guests here, and for those who have never been to Jalsa UK or Jalsa in general, you might be wondering, what does a guest do all day? So let's take a look.
चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे का चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे का
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम मेरा नाम अब्दुल शकूर देजवी है उसको कहते हैं शकूर भाई चश्मे वाले कादियान की मेरी पैदाइश है 19 मई 1935 की उसको ना बिजली होती थी ना पानी होता था लेकिन हमारे जलसे ज़रूर होते थे जमात के
समेटे बरकते उसकी करे दीदार जलसे का समेटे बरकते उसकी करे दीदार जलसे का
मस्जिद नूर की ग्राउंड थी वहाँ एक बोर्ड का दरख्त था वहाँ स्टेज लगता था वहाँ जलसे होते थे और नीचे सब लोग बैठते थे तो घास होती थी कसेर उसको कहते थे कसेर पर बैठते थे कुछ सीढ़ियाँ बनती थी मैं और मेरे हम सीढ़ियों पर जाते थे तो उन लोगों को देखते थे हज़ारों लोग बैठे होते थे اور سب سے दाढ़ियाँ होती थी और 1-1.5 गज का कपड़ा सब बांधा होता, ऊपर खींच दिया होता था सर्दी का। फिर उसके बाद दूसरी जंग अज़ीम शुरू हो गई, वो देखी। फिर दूसरी जंग अज़ीम जब ख़त्म हुई, फिर पाकिस्तान का शुरू हो गया, पाकिस्तान आ गए यहाँ से। तो यहाँ भी हमारे जलसे फिर रब्बा बना, अल्लाह ताला ने रब्बा बना दिया, वहाँ भी जलसे होते थे। शुरू में वहाँ भी ऐसे ही था, ज़मीन पर ही लोग बैठते थे, कसेर वगैरह। फिर अल्लाह ताला ने आहिस्ता आहिस्ता तरक्की दी। मसीह मौऊद साहब जो कह गए थे वही बातें पूरी होनी थी कि मेरे फ़िरक़ा के लोग इल्म मार्फत में कमाल हासिल करेंगे और इतना दूंगा कि हम शेर हो जाएंगे और मैं तेरी तबीयत को ज़मीन के किनारों तक पहुँचूँगा।
मोहब्बत ही मोहब्बत है, नहीं नफरत किसी से भी।
एक जलसे के मेहमान का दिन कैसे गुजरता है। आप फजर के साथ करेंगे, नमाज के बाद हम जाएंगे, जाकर थोड़ा सा सो जाएंगे, सो कर फिर नाश्ता करेंगे, चाय वगैरह पियेंगे, उससे फिर दिन का आगाज़ करेंगे।
जलसे का समेटे बरकते उसकी, करे दीदार जलसे।
जब से अल्लाह ताला ने दुनिया में फैलाया तो क्या बात है, परचम मुल्कों के झंडे रखते हैं, हुजूर उसका इत्तिज़ा करते हैं, परचम दिखाई करते हैं। कितनी दुनिया आती है, सारी कितनी दुनिया यहाँ आई भी अल्लाह ताला के फजल से। ये सब उसका फजल है, मसीह मौऊद साहब की दुआएं हैं, अहमदियत की बरकत से जो कह गए थे सब कुछ वही हो रहा है दुनिया के अंदर, और कोई नई चीज़। इस तरह से कहते हैं इमाम महदी आ चुके हैं, उनको मान लो, उसमें बचत हो जाएगी तुम्हारी, वरना फिर तुम्हारा हाल भी वही होगा जो यजीद का हुआ। हाँ, अभी हुजूर आएंगे, इफ्तिताह करेंगे, फिर आप सब देख लेना, हुजूर को भी देख लेना, सब कुछ देखना। फिर हुजूर जलसे में खिताब करेंगे। तो ये सब खुदा ताला के फजल में काम, सारे खुलफा ने इसी तरीके से काम किया।
तेरे बंदे जहाँ जलसे की रौनक को खुदाया रास्ता कर दे, वहाँ हमवार जलसे का चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे का, चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे।
हुजूर आए, हुजूर ने खिताब किया, दुआएं दी हुजूर को। काफ़ी देर के बाद हुजूर को मैंने देखा। अल्लाह ताला हुजूर को सेहत दे, अपनी हिफाजत में रखे, अपनी अमान में रखे, और जलसे की रौनक देखें किस कदर लोग, हज़ारों लोगों की तादाद, हर मुल्क से लोग आए हुए हैं। बस देखकर तो ईमान ताज़ा हो जाता है, मसीह मौऊद साहब की बातें पूरी हो जाती हैं।
पर फरिश्ते निछावर करे।
यहाँ रह रहा हूँ, सब लोगों से मुलाकातें हो रही हैं, देख रहे हैं। अल्लाह ताला के बड़े फजल है, बड़े सरे में, और हर चीज़ की, किसी चीज़ की कमी नहीं है। सब मिल रहे हैं, जुड़ रहे हैं, आपस में मोहब्बत करते रहते हैं। सारी दुनिया में इसी तरह जलसे होते हैं, और बड़ा अच्छा इंतज़ाम। बस इतने इंतज़ाम है, इतना हम घर में इतना इंतज़ाम नहीं कर सकते जो जमात ने यहाँ इंतज़ाम किया हुआ है। ये सब खुदा ताला के फजल, उसके फजल।
गिनते थे दिन अपनी तस्कीन जा के लिए, फिर वो चेहरे
भी देखा, बहुत मालूमात वहाँ से भी हासिल हुई हैं। वो भी देखकर इंसान हैरान हो जाता है कि कहाँ कहाँ तबलीग के ज़रिए फिर वो सारी तस्वीरें आती हैं, लगती हैं, लोगों का ईमान ताज़ा होता है देखकर। बहुत ही अल्लाह ताला के फजल है, उसके करम है। बस कुछ रहा अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, या अल्लाह तू अहमदियत को और तरक्की दे, नमाज हमें खैरियत से, हमारा जलसा हो, सब लोग खैरियत से आएँ और खैरियत से जाएँ, अपनी हिफाजत में रखें।
प्यार की हर अदा बेगरज बेरिया दिल नशीं दिलरुबा, रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा, तेरी सरदारी, तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी, तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी, रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा, तेरी है सरदारी, तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी, जाना करिए वारी। पाक मसीदिया जान नशीना तेनू रब दिया रखा पाक मसीह दिया जान नशीना तेनू रब दिया रखा तेरे दर्शन कर दिया कदी न रजन अका तेरे दर्शन कर दिया कदी न रजन अका रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा तेरी है सरदारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी जाना करिए वारी ऊंचा चेटा शिमला तेरा रवे हमेश सलामत ऊंचा चेटा शिमला तेरा रवे हमेश सलामत रब दे खास फरिश्ते तेरी करन हमेश हिफाजत रब दे खास फरिश्ते तेरी करन हमेश हिफाजत रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा तेरी है सरदारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी ले फिर करमा वाले नजरा पाछड़ साडे वल्ले ले फिर करमा वाले नजरा पाछड़ साडे वल्ले मौजा हो जन साडिया करिए वावा बल्ले बल्ले मौजा हो जड़ साडिया करिए वावा बल्ले बल्ले रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा तेरी है सरदारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी रवे हमेश सलामत पीरा तेरी है सरदारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी तेरी इस सरदारी तो जाना करिए वारी ये रोज कल मुबारक सुबहान मैया रानी.
One of the most favorite spots here to remind yourself over and over again about the diversity of the members of this Jamaat, the diversity of the guests, and the different communities and Jamaats that have been established in those countries. Some old, some new. One of the old ones, Salam, is a country where you come from.
Yeah, United States of America, and the flag is right over there. And you look around, it's what, nearly 50,000 people here. Or inshallah we'll find out later, but it didn't start like this, of course. And Mufti Muhammad Sadiq Sahib Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, who was the first missionary to America, was just an incredible person. While he was on the ship over here, he converted so many people on the ship, such that when he landed, they put him in prison because they thought he was going to spread this idea of polygamy. So you're gonna find out a little bit more in the upcoming USA documentary. But one of the things that we would be taught while we were growing up was that he walked around in his traditional Indian Pakistani clothes, and that was a very confident move to be making, whether it was then or now. Such that there was a small girl who was walking by him once, and she tugged at her mom and said, "Mommy, is that Jesus?" So it's a great confidence that he exerted. That he had the charisma, the courage, the confidence to not just share who he was, but also the message of the Messiah.
Wonderful. And we have prepared a documentary about this establishment of the USA Jamaat. Let's take a look.
वाकिफ ना था मुझसे ना मेरा मोतक़िद लेकिन अब देखो के चर्चा
Obedience and sincere effort. This is the hallmark of spiritual communities. This is how they are nurtured and grow beyond all boundaries.
Either you'll be detained or you will have to go back on the ship, on the same ship that you arrived. And he very courageously responded. He says, "I am not going back, for my Khalifa has sent me to go to the United States and preach the message of Islam."
Let us take a brief look upon the pages of history and unfold a sparkling example of a righteous, brave, and humble servant who set forth upon a grand mission with sincere obedience to his Khalifa.
He was called by the Khalifa of the time to say, "I'm sending you to America,"
manifesting the divinely guided vision of Khilafat and the eternal successes and blessings attached with it.
During the time of the promised Messiah ﷺ, there was a man named Charles Seawright, who was an Australian, who traveled all the way. In his travels or his meeting with the promised Messiah ﷺ is safeguarded in Malfuzat, in which he travels to Qadian, and he was already a Muslim when he was in Australia. He in fact wanted to learn more about Islam, and he wasn't sure where to go, and so somebody had advised him that he should travel to India. And when he arrived in India, he traveled throughout India and eventually arrived in Lahore. And in Lahore, somebody told him that there's in fact somebody who claims to be the promised Messiah, and he's in Qadian. And then he proceeded to reach Qadian, and on that very day, he had the good fortune of meeting the promised Messiah ﷺ. And during this mulaqat, or this meeting, the promised Messiah ﷺ gives him a name. He says, "Your name should be Muhammad Abdul Haq." And he takes this name and he takes it as his new identity, and he cherishes it. And this was 1903. 3 years later, he cannot forget that mulaqat with the promised Messiah ﷺ, that meeting with the promised Messiah ﷺ. So much so that in the Review of Religions he writes that I profess I am a member of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. And I'm not just a member by any, I am dedicated. He is my master, the promised Messiah ﷺ, and I miss him. And so in his very life, Hazrat Muhammad Abdul Haq Radhiyallahu Anhu became the very first Sahabi that we know of that was living in the United States. So from day one, the promised Messiah ﷺ himself had a direct focus of tabligh in the United States. And of course, this translated in his khulafa as well.
America was chosen not by us, but it was chosen automatically by a sign of God, which was manifested which was manifested in Zion, Illinois, when a person made a claim that he is the Elijah, and he abused Holy Prophet ﷺ and tried to challenge Hazrat Masih Maud. So it began during the time of Huzur al-Islam. So it is by choice, not by our choice, but by God's plan. Then organizational wise, in 1920, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II radiallahu anhu chose America for sending a missionary, and guess what? Mufti Muhammad Sadiq Sahab radiallahu anhu, who had a long conversation with John Alexander Dowie and correspondence through newspapers and letters, he was chosen to come here, and he arrived from London in 1920 to America.
It was Jalsa 1919 when Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani, may Allah rest his blessed soul, made an extraordinary announcement at Jalsa Salana in December 1919, where he essentially said, we are going to send our humble Darvish, Dr. Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, to the United States.
The global vision of Huzur radiallahu anhu was that it is to expand the religion of Islam, Ahmadiyyat, throughout the world.
And what do we see? The very first element was that Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Sallallahu was sent first to the United Kingdom. And when he was sent was in the heat of the battle of World War I. As you can imagine, many people began to, share their concerns with Hazrat Muslim that maybe you should not send him. Maybe it's dangerous. Maybe, he may not survive, and so on and so forth. And so when people first approached Hazrat Mufti Sahib, he said, what is the worst that will happen? Either I'm killed and so be it, my life will have succeeded. And if other case would be that I'm as a prisoner of war, then I will continue to preach there. What loss will I have? Again, that is a beautiful way of seeing it.
तो चल पड़े फिर तीर क्या तलवार क्या फिर तीर.
When people came to Hazrat Muslim, they said, look, we're afraid if you're sending him to London or England in the heat of this battle, what if he has destroyed many of the ships that are going to United Kingdom from here are being destroyed on the route there? And Hazrat Muslim said in a very beautiful way, although the wheat grains are grinding in the millstone, there are some grains that are saved, even after the grinding process. Mufti Sahib is one of those who will be saved. And then he says, nothing will happen to him.
ये जानो मालो आबरू हाजिर है तेरी राह में. ये जानो मालो आबरू हाजिर है तेरी राह में.
Now, of course, Mufti Sahib Razida himself writes what happens next. He says many ships were being destroyed in front of us, behind us. Everybody on the ship became restless. He says at that moment, I had a vision. And in the vision, Allah is operating the ship. And an angel says to me in English, Sadiq, rest assured, this steamer will arrive safe. Sadiq, rest assured, this steamer will arrive safe. This is exactly what had happened. He had arrived in the United Kingdom safely in 1917 and then departed for the United States in 1920.
So when he gets to the work, first of all, we have to keep in mind two things about Dr. Mufti Muhammad Sadiq. May Allah be pleased with him. First, he was taught and he was trained by the promised Messiah himself. So he was an extraordinary, intelligent, bright individual So in other words, whenever there were English guests, English correspondents, it was Mufti Saab who responded to that. Now, when you look that now that he's being dispatched to the United States, his work did not begin when he reached New York. His work began on the ship. His work began when he was in prison those 2 months.
What happens? When he arrives in the United States, immediately as he is disembarking this ship, after a very long voyage, the immigration officers stop him. And they said, "What are you planning to do here?" He said, "I'll be a preacher." And this is how they flag him immediately. They do not let him disembark that ship in Philadelphia. And he very courageously responded, "Many souls are waiting for my arrival to be guided on the right path." Of course, the immigration officers didn't understand. They were shocked and they said, "Look, we have no other option." So then they detained him in New Jersey. And he remained there for 7 weeks while his decision was going to be made from Washington, D.C. During this time, of course, Hazrat Mufti Sahab Raziyallahu anhu began working in the prisons, began sharing his message to those inmates who were with him. But at the same time, the message reached as far as Qadian. And his master, Hazrat al-Muslim Raziyallahu anhu, hearing this news, said in a very powerful way, "America claims to be a powerful country, for she has only battled with worldly kingdoms and has not confronted a spiritual kingdom yet. If America confronts our kingdom, she will never be able to defeat us because God is on our side."
बाजी लगे जब इश्क की फिर जीत क्या और हार क्या, फिर जीत क्या और हार क्या, तूफान से जब टकरा गए.
So Mufti Saab had a spiritual confidence from the Caliph of the time. Secondly, Mufti Saab looked at a problem, he looked at it, because he was taught and trained by the promised Messiah, he knew all of the arguments. Mufti Saab could see clearly that the one thing that everybody is looking for is that connection with Almighty God. And this was not the charge of Marcus Garvey. So when he filled that particular thing in, along with talking about the other disparities, as Marcus Garvey was talking about, many of the followers and people associated with Marcus Garvey began to become attracted to this guy from India named Mufti Muhammad Sadiq and this sweet, wonderful message of brotherhood and love called Islam and Ahmadiyya.
It is truly amazing to see the sacrifices of those early pioneer Muslims. You know, Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Sadiq would write, he would say that this quarter, 100 or so people have joined Islam and Ahmadiyyat. And he said, and among them, 10, I myself was, worked on and was able to help them enter the fold of Islam and Ahmadiyyat. He said, but the rest 90 were as a result of these 4 or 5 da'i ilallah, or at that time they were missionaries or whatever he referred to them as, but they were essentially very dedicated Ahmadis. And they established the mission, or they established that love for Islam and Ahmadiyyat in the hearts of fellow Americans. Now what's amazing is that once they would join, it wasn't enough that they joined. They would start writing articles for the Muslim Sunrise. They would contribute literary works. They would write poems. They would translate the poems of the promised Messiah Islam with the help of Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Sahib Raziyallahu. They would read the Muslim Sunrise regularly. And on top of all of that, they would give financial contributions themselves.
Now today has left when this verse of Holy Quran of Surah Zuha, وَلَلْ آخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَىٰ, your next day would be more advanced and better than the day just preceded. So Jamaat MTA is, mashallah, enjoying that growth day by day.
फिर आर क्या और पार क्या, जब चल पड़े तो चल पड़े, फिर तीर क्या तलवार क्या, फिर तीर क्या तलवार क्या फिर तीर क्या तलवार क्या.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the studio. And what an amazing documentary we had the opportunity to watch on the history of the spread of Islam Ahmadiyyat in the USA and the founding of the USA Jamaat, and really a history of great courage and of immense capacity to spread the message of Islam by really going out amongst people and telling them about the beautiful message of Islam. And that tradition, of course, continues as well here at Jalsa Salana. And we have a Tabligh area within Jalsa Salana, and Salam and Raza are there now. And Salam, Raza, tell us about the activities happening in the Tabligh Gah.
You know the best.
We are. We've. One of the setups here. We're gonna take you here. Come. What?
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry about that. We are having a few technical difficulties getting through to Razan Salam. Hopefully we should be able to get back to them very, very shortly. We are on the last day of the Jalsa Salana now, and it has been a beautiful and emotional last couple of days with some really faith-inspiring speeches, and of course all of the speeches by Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, and I'm sure that everyone who's been listening at home and who has been watching and listening here at Hadeeqa-tul-Mahdi is going to go home after the Jalsa fully recharged. And now we are able to go through to Salam and Raza, who are in the Tabligh area.
Yes, Hamad Sahib. So we've kind of made our way into the Tabligh marquee, where, as you can see behind me, there's a huge Tabligh session happening. One of the purposes of this Jalsa Salana is that a lot of guests outside the community who are not Ahmadis, not even Muslims, they come attend this convention. And I think if you leave without being impressed in one way or another, especially after Bad in the third day, I don't know what can impress you.
And what's beautiful is that guests are also allowed to sit in during the bath as well. And around me, there were a couple of people who were guests who were just enjoying the sights and sounds.
And here as well, we have a Q&A happening right now. Any question that you have, anything that is, bothering you, you can ask this question. And there's a panel of scholars, there's a panel of experts, there's a panel of, members of the Jamaat. We have Ibrahim Noonan Saab there, Ibrahim Ikhlif Saab there. So national representatives of the UK Jamaat as well as other Jamaats who are there to answer the questions of the guests who have come here to Jalsa Salana.
Yeah, and they're also sharing, of course, their personal experience as well. And this Jalsa, what it does is it opens a lot of doors. And what we're going to now explore is some open doors.
Whenever you do see this tent city on your screens, you can find your bearings and be a part alongside everyone else attending the Jalsa. Hadeeqa-tul-Mahdi is a large...
Oh, that's my man calling. Hello, Samir, my brother.
Hello, Dr. How are you?
I am doing good, thank you. Good to see you. How are you doing?
That's brilliant. Where are you?
I just arrived. I think they said it's the Tabligh, around the Tabligh. That is where I am. Spending some time watching the virtual video. It looks amazing. Very amazing.
Oh, that's brilliant. Do you want me to show you around?
I definitely would want to go around. It looks like it's going to be an amazing walk. I can't wait to meet you.
I'll just be around. I'll be with you shortly.
Hello, my brother. Good to see you.
How do you feel coming here all this?
No, I am blown away seeing the structures, and I'm ready for us to go around. I want to see more.
We'll start from flags.
From the flags?
Flags there.
Do we have a Ghana flag there?
Yeah, there'll be one.
Are you sure? It's been a very warm environment since I got in here, and I can't believe I've missed this for the last 3 years.
So there's the Ghana flag that you were asking for.
Yeah, I can see that Ghana flag. And so many other countries.
So that is the flag that we have.
Okay.
With the moon and star. So this was done by His Holiness, our 5th Caliph of our community.
Okay.
So that is where we start the Jalsa Salana officially.
That's my brother from Ghana.
Okay, let me take you to the Makhzan-e-Tasawir.
Oh.
It means the image library of our history.
Oh, this is packed. This is
Yeah,
very packed. Did you say that the current caliph lived in Ghana for some time?
Yeah, he was living there as a volunteer.
Oh, that's also in Ghana, right?
This is the concluding session from this year.
This year?
Jalsa, it's similar thing of Jalsa.
Okay.
That happened in Ghana in February this year.
Oh, that is one of our former presidents.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah. I know that secondary school, the high school. It's one of the best in the Ashanti region.
Is it?
Yeah, I just thought that it was named after the religious set. I didn't know that he lived there and actually got this going.
So let's go towards the next exhibition. That would be the review of religions.
Yep. I cannot wait. This is massive. This is a packed place.
This whole experience is to showcase that there is a living God. And these are powerful proofs to show that the knowledge that we have of the unseen, of the future, is something that we cannot have just imagined. And for all of it to have taken place in this era that we are living in right now, we are living in the age of prophecies. There are so many prophecies which have been fulfilled through the teachings of Islam, through the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and even through the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. This is not just tales of the past. Even now, the promised Messiah in this age, he explained that these things will happen as well in his lifetime and after him as well. He talked about World War I, he talked about the plague, he talked about the solar lunar eclipses. These are things which are beyond human intervention.
Definitely.
So God Almighty himself is showing his signs in support of his truthful one.
Impressive. It looks like you guys have managed to bring religion and science pretty much close than I ever expected, because most of the time when you hear religion and science, it's more of a conflict.
Yeah. That's true because I think because of previous scriptures, sometimes they see a conflict. But Islam, we believe that the Prophet ﷺ has explained that science is the hand of God and the Quran is the word of God.
Science, the hand of God, and the Quran, the word of God. Yeah. Interesting quote. Thank you very much. This has been very educative. Thank you. Yeah. Alaikum salam, my brother. How are you? I'm doing good. How are you?
Nice to see you. These are the three studios, MTA 3, MTA Africa, and MTA 1.
Okay.
We also have other studios, but these are the three main ones that we make every single year. We make these across the number of days.
I was actually surprised when Samir told me the whole thing is built within a couple of weeks.
Would you like to take a look inside?
I would definitely like to see what is going on in the studio.
So this is the MTA studio.
Oh.
So this is exactly where what you see on TV happens over here live. So we have one presenter, sometimes one or two guests, sometimes two presenters. As you can see, we have an electronic screen this year.
So with the electronic screens, that means you can decide what appears basically behind the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it okay to take a photo with my brother from the studio?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invite. I've really enjoyed myself today.
Oh, there'll be a bath ceremony now.
Oh,
That's the initiation.
Okay.
And it is an interesting thing. You may not know, but it's a brilliant thing to watch. So let's have a look.
Let's go. I don't want to miss it.
Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh.
That was a surreal experience in there, having to attend my first bath, which is more like an Ahmadiyya initiation. As a Catholic, I have seen so many rites performed in the Catholic Church, but the feeling in the marquee was so overwhelming. You could see people crying after the initiation. There was so much emotions there. I appreciated what people were going through, having been through similar experiences myself in my faith. I have enjoyed my time. It's been a revelation. It's been a learning opportunity for me. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I sure hope to be back next year. Inshallah.